So I want to talk to you briefly about the water and sun. I get lots of questions related to these two things. Okay. And so I want to talk a little bit about the health benefits of both of these things. Now, I think what's important is to understand is like we said all through each individual program, we want to empower you, and the empowerment comes through knowledge. And so it'd be really easy for me to say, hey, just drink this much water or avoid the sun, and really not have you have any kind of understanding of what is important and what isn't important. And so that's really why, I want to talk about these two things, because people often look at this and say, what is there to talk about water and sun? And so I want to share a little information with you. So the first thing I want to do is talk about water and kind of the health benefits of water. And then we'll dive in deeper if you have any questions. But first is it really is important to help really regulate your body temperature. Now we're going into a type of year, especially in the Midwest with humidity high and stuff, it's real easy to get dehydrated. And so we want to do everything we can to maintain a proper hydration, because that's going to help maintain a stable temperature. That means all of our organ systems are going to be working optimally by appropriate body temperature. Now, water is something we think about during the summer when it's hot, but it's also something we need to think about in the winter, because we actually lose a lot of water in the winter, not through sweat, but through respiration. So when you go out in the cold and you see your breath, that's all water vapor you're losing. So lots of water you lose in respiration and sweating. So it's something to really be cognizant of year round. And it's very important to help maintain a normal body temperature, which then impacts how well our organ systems are functioning. In addition to that, just like I said, body temperature and organ functioning, it also has a great impact on just the hydration status by various body functions, including your digestive system, how it absorbs things, your circulatory system, how well your blood is being transported around in your bodies to essential organs. But in addition to that, the nutrients your organs need also are dependent on this kind of highway, if you will. So minerals and nutrients, all those things are very dependent on being passed through your body to the right organ system. And blood is essential, and a major component of blood is water. And so making sure you are taking adequate water intake is extremely important. Along the lines, it also helps the kidneys do their job. Kidney and liver is how we detoxify our body. And so making sure we have adequate blood flow or flow for the circulatory system to those organs is important. So helping aid detoxification to keep those toxins out of our bodies, to help make sure we're functionally in an optimal state. Now, in addition to that, the Midwest is known for, it's kind of classified as the kidney stone belt. For numerous reasons, we have tons of kidney stones in patients in this area of the country. So having adequate hydration is also important in helping prevent kidney stones. So that's just a kind of a side note. Then in addition, skin health. Skin health is important, not just for the look. Hydration keeps the skin elastic and the kind of the glowing appearance, but it also helps remove toxins from the skin. The skin is the largest organ of the body. And so helping that also help with the flow to remove toxins. Cardiovascular health is extremely important. Staying hydrated is going to help maintain an appropriate volume of blood, like I said, and this is crucial to maintain proper blood pressure and heart function. This will reduce the risk of cardiovascular issues. So making sure you're well hydrated. Physical performance. One of the pillars of health is fitness. And so we have to make sure we aren't dehydrated. Now, as a society, most of us are walking around in a dehydrated state, because often we aren't taking in enough water. Plus, we're taking in other fluids that don't really serve us, such as soda pops, Diet Coke, things like that. So dehydration is going to impair your physical performance. It's going to reduce endurance. It's going to increase fatigue and really affect coordination. So adequate hydration is necessary to maintain energy levels and really to improve your overall physical performance. One that's often overlooked is cognitive function. Okay, even a little bit of mild dehydration affects your cognitive abilities. That means you won't be concentrating as well. You won't have alertness. Your short-term memory suffers. So you need to be drinking enough water to really help maintain mental clarity and cognitive function. Weight loss. Now, this is one it's often talked about because it does help in weight management. So drinking water can aid in weight loss and weight management because it's really going to help promote satiety and boost your metabolism. Now, sometimes we misinterpret thirst as hunger, and that leads to unnecessary caloric intake. So one of the things I always advocate, if you're starting to feel like your sense of hunger, drink a glass of water first, and then give it a few minutes and see, are you still really hungry, or was it really a thirst response that you're after? Another interesting thing is if you suffer from headaches, often people that have chronic migraines or chronic headaches, it's a dehydration problem. And really what they need is just additional fluid to correct their hydration status. If you suffer from achy joints and pains, it could be a dehydration problem because the fluid that there's fluid both in our joints to help lubricate the joint, but then the tissues act as like sponges or shock absorbers pretty much in between every bony apparatus we have in our body. So in our knees, our hips, our spine, there's all these things that help cushion kind of the impact of the normal trauma we expose our joints to. And when you're dehydrated, those become calcified and hard. And so you lose that shock absorbable ability. So in maintaining appropriate hydration is going to help with the elasticity and flexibility of your muscles. And also it's going to reduce cramping and really muscle strain. So water is very important, more than just drinking it to replace calories, but it serves a purpose in our overall health and well-being. So drink lots of water. So let's just quickly talk about the sun now. Now, often people look at the sun as a detriment to our health. Most people are thinking like sun cancer, things like that, and really do things to avoid the sun. But the thing is we really need sun. Sun offers a lot of health to us. So sunshine is a vitamin, okay? And what I mean by that is it's going to convert vitamin D through the skin into an active form of vitamin D. And this is crucial in really many, many enzymatic processes in the body. So yeah, obviously most people are familiar with bone health and the importance of vitamin D. But in addition, vitamin D is instrumental, and we learned more and more during COVID of its impact on the immune system. So both in controlling the immune system so the immune system is functioning appropriately, but also making sure the immune system isn't overactive and harming our own body. So the sun, taking some sun exposure is going to help both the bones and your immune system. Now, we also know it has a huge impact on kind of mental health benefits. Part of overall health and wellness is mental well-being. We don't want to work hard all of our life to have great physical health, only to have decline in our mental components, because we want to be there both physically and mentally. So mental health is very important, and sunlight adds some benefits to that. Exposure to sunlight is going to produce serotonin. This is a neurotransmitter that helps regulate mood, appetite, and sleep. And so high levels of serotonin, they're associated with improved mood and a sense of well-being. So really, you need that sunlight exposure to amplify this. That's why we see in the winter months something called seasonal affective disorder. And that's because we often are not being exposed to the sun. So often we end up using some supplementation during the winter months to supplement vitamin D, where you don't necessarily need to do that in the summer if you're getting adequate sun exposure. And then in addition to that, natural sunlight exposure has been shown to really reduce levels of the stress hormone cortisol. This is really, really important because this is going to promote overall relaxation and stress relief. So managing our cortisol levels is extremely important because cortisol is there to help us, but excess cortisol is really harmful for us. So really managing that and having it be an appropriate response is essential. And sunlight does that. It's going to overall improve your mood and really your emotional well-being. So it's kind of a natural antidote really to the stress of life. Now, your circadian rhythms are very important. That's your internal kind of clock. That's when your body knows that I'm supposed to be asleep or I'm supposed to be waking up. Sunlight is extremely important to this. So people often say, I don't understand, Dr. Cox, you're telling me to get sun to go to sleep at night. And yes, I am, because the sun is helping that circadian rhythm know this is when I'm supposed to be awake, and this is when I'm supposed to be asleep. This is one of the challenges we see in patients that work third shift because their circadian rhythms are completely disrupted. And so the third shift worker, unfortunately, that's very unhealthy for your long-term health because you're disrupting these circadian rhythms. Now, part of this is melatonin production. People take melatonin as a supplement, which does help, but it's not the equivalent of the natural melatonin that your body will produce. And that's driven by sunlight exposure. So melatonin production is essential to have sunlight exposure because that's what's telling your body to make melatonin. And then daylight and work performance. I already touched a little bit on the third shift worker, but really, adequate sunlight exposure during the day is linked to better sleep quality at night, which really in turns to improve cognitive function, alertness, and productivity. So it really adds value to your working day because you're just going to perform better. Now, sun is often equated to bad on the skin, but there actually is some goodness with sun and skin exposure. So sunlight has a natural antibacterial property, and even just moderate exposure can help treat really certain conditions, acne, psoriasis, eczema. Some little sun exposure is actually beneficial. In fact, in hospitals, they use UV light therapy, which is basically the sun rays, the same wavelength of the sun. And this is known as phototherapy to really help treat medical conditions and really help with skin inflammation and promote healing. Now, there is a precautionary component with this. We don't want to, it's just like anything we talk about, too much of a good thing is a bad thing. So there's some ways we need to approach the sun, excuse me, so that we're also not having some of the harmful effects. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But some of the cardiovascular effects of the sun, though, there's some research that suggests sunlight exposure really helps lower your blood pressure. And they believe it's because these UV rays are actually causing the release of nitric oxide. That's a chemical your body will naturally make. And that causes the blood vessels to dilate, which really improves your circulation and really reduces your risk of cardiovascular disease. And then overall, when you put all these pieces together, it looks like that sunlight exposure really helps lower the incidence of heart attacks and strokes. Now, they believe it's a combined effect of improved vitamin D levels, lowering your blood pressure, and really enhanced mood that really contribute to this overall cardiovascular effect. But overall, it's found that sun exposure is very important. In addition to that is how we function mentally. So again, we want good mental health just as much as we want good physical health. So it's been found that adequate sunlight really helps improve cognitive function. It's going to reduce your risk of neurodegenerative diseases. And they believe that's because there's vitamin D receptors that are in the brain at sufficient levels of the vitamins associated with better cognition. And that really means a lower risk of conditions such as Alzheimer's disease and dementia. So that's really important because you're stimulating those vitamin D receptors through sunlight. And then there's ongoing debate about recesses in schools. At some schools are not having the kids go out and play now, and they're finding their academic performance is suffering because of that. Now, this is one that can be up for debate, but one of the theories is you're taking away that sun exposure for them, and that is also impacting their cognitive abilities. So it's important for your mental function. Now, again, we most often talk about weight and weight management. Well, the important thing is sun exposure is going to influence and help regulate your appetite and your energy levels. Again, serotonin levels that are stimulated by the sun help control appetite. It reduces cravings for unhealthy foods and really aids in weight management. So a lot of benefits there. In addition to the influence on weight, sun has an impact or positive impact on your metabolism. Now, there are studies that suggest that it improves your metabolic function, including insulin resistance or insulin sensitivity. So it makes your insulin work better. So this is crucial because that's essential in maintaining a healthy weight and also preventing metabolic disorders such as type 2 diabetes. Then sunlight is really about a lot of the emotional benefits, the cumulative benefits, both the physical, mental, and emotional, all really contribute to overall longevity and increase the lifespan. So some things, though, related to the sun is obviously that we don't want too much of it, okay? So the question I always get is, well, Dr. Cox, how much water do I drink and how much sun do I get? And it's real simple, okay? Oops, stole away my thunder. So what I recommend is a minimum of 8 glasses of water, eight ounce glasses. Now, Lots of people look at me like I'm crazy when I say that much, because when you actually start measuring out the water you're drinking, most people are drinking 2 to 3 glasses of water a day. And so 8 glasses, and a glass is defined as 8 ounces, so 64 ounces is the minimum, not the overall highest goal. That's the minimum you want. That's a that's a lot of water to people. Okay. The next question is well, I'm going to be up all night peeing. Well, this is true. So you need to be strategic in your water intake. And what I mean by that is really try to lean heavily in the morning and the afternoon on really pushing your water intake, and then giving your body some time to diurese it so that you're not up all night peeing. But not drinking the water is not helpful either. It may reduce your amount of time getting up to go to the bathroom, but the downstream effect of all these other issues related to your health, you don't have the opportunity to promote that. And then 15 minutes of sun. And what I mean by that is it depends on the time of day, because obviously, in the afternoon, the sun intensity is going to be higher than in the morning or the evening. But really what I tell people is 15 minutes of unprotected sunlight. So that means you're not putting sunscreen on, you're not wearing a bunch of clothes covering your skin, but you really want to get out in the sun and let your body kind of take it in. And that includes sunglasses. There's certain cells in the eye that detect sunlight. And by wearing sunglasses, that interferes with that. So that's what I mean is 15 minutes of unprotected sun. You're not wearing your sunglasses, you're not wearing a big hat, you're not wearing a bunch of clothes to cover it. And all it takes is 15 minutes. So what I encourage people to do is in the morning, while you're kind of practicing your mindfulness or meditation with your cup of coffee, go sit outside on the porch and just sit there and enjoy the sun in the morning, and sit there for 15 minutes and take it in. Because you don't need a lot of sun exposure to get the benefits, but you do need some sun exposure. And so with that, I will end. Try to end anyway. So any questions related to water or sun?